While many people absolutely can't wait for events such as Canada Day fireworks displays, others wish they'd never been invented. That's led some communities in Ontario to further restrict and even ban personal fireworks. With us for both perspectives, Gurpratap Singh Toor, Regional Councillor for Wards 9 and 10 for City of Brampton, and Aleem Kanji, Chief Advocacy Officer for the Canadian National Fireworks Association. Hi to you both.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to an explosive debate. Get it? I'm glad you laughed.
Bit of that.
Mom jokes, mom jokes.
We'll keep the sparks to a minimum. Okay?
But I'm looking forward to this because obviously the both of you have very different perspectives on this, and a lot of people around the province are having this conversation. Gurpratap, I wanted to start with you.
Yeah.
Why did Brampton City Council ban fireworks?
In the past years or past councils, we've seen, talks and debate about limiting and restricting uses of fireworks, solutions that weren't really fully enforceable. And, post-pandemic, we see a lot of celebrations, a lot of people come out, a lot of parties, a lot of weddings, a lot of celebrations in general. And last summer was one of our wildest, I would say, in terms of fireworks. In the city, we only allowed 4 days of fireworks. Legally, you were allowed to do fireworks on 4 different occasions. But throughout the summer, we saw fireworks from Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, maybe Monday or Tuesday were the rarest days you couldn't see fireworks. But we had a lot of fireworks going off in our city. And that's something that we consistently heard throughout the summer. That's when I was campaigning. And so when we came in, New Year's we got sworn in November, and New Year's was the next opportunity that we knew people would be doing fireworks, and that's the day that we typically allowed people to do fireworks. So we decided to take the bold action and say enough is enough, and we decided to ban personal use fireworks in the city.
Well, you say it's a bold action to do this. Yeah. And I think with fireworks, I think a lot of us kind of, when we hear fireworks or see fireworks, we're celebrating something. Yeah. But they're also very noisy. Yeah. What types of fireworks are banned in Brampton?
So all personal use fireworks, any fireworks that you could have set off from your personal property, they're all banned.
So, but if the city does an event, they have those fireworks.
So the city has their own fireworks display on Canada Day, on New Year's, and now for the first time we'll have one on Diwali as well. But those are city-led, professionally done with pyrotechnics and all the safeguards in place. Those are the only fireworks that are allowed in City of Brampton now.
Aleem, I saw you wanting to get in on what we were just talking about. What is the Canadian National Fireworks Association's position on fireworks ban?
Sure. Let's talk about that. And we can certainly talk about Brampton as well. The Canadian National Fireworks Association, just by background to your viewers, represents over 3,000 manufacturers, vendors, people that are in the business of selling fireworks, the very legal and permissible product set of over 4,000 fireworks that are approved, tested strenuously by our federal government, implemented and regulated by fire codes across the country amongst fire chiefs and in municipalities. And our position is that the very legal industry of fireworks should continue to be used. Brampton, in fact, before the councillor mentioned the bold action that they made, and of course there was no public consultation. It was 3 weeks into his term of office.
But he said he heard this concern at the doors.
Sure, during the doors, during a campaign. But he gets elected, and they do this 3 weeks after coming into office. So there was no public consult. In fact, there were about 23 people that showed up on the 28th of November in 2022, all forcefully speaking of why we should have this. Cultural reasons, I know we'll get to that later. And there wasn't one question asked by any member of council as to why the community actually wants to keep it in place. And so our position has always been to use the product safely and respectively. We're very proud of our Be a Good Neighbor program. I'll show that to your viewers. That reminds people to use the product safely, prepare ahead of time, respect your community, your environment. And we were very proud to launch the campaign exclusively in Brampton in Punjabi. The challenge is, as the councillor said, in the very bold action that they took, you can't ban things that are legal. You make it more enticing to do it. And by banning things that are legal, you're enticing and you're actually supporting an illegal underground black market by doing that. You can't have things that are legal where people can simply buy online. We saw a lot of that during the pandemic. And also, what people can do is they can hop over to Toronto, they can go to Mississauga. They don't even have to leave their home. As I said, Brampton is a center, as we saw during the pandemic, for logistics, transportation. And there are a lot of people that work in the trucking industry in Brampton. Those people, those men and women that kept us alive during the pandemic, transporting our goods, they also transport fireworks. That is now illegal in Brampton.
Well, you've used the word legal a couple of times.
I have.
So I wanted to get the councillor to respond.
Yeah, it's only legal until it's not. And in the city of Brampton now, the use and sale of these fireworks is considered illegal.
But I think the point you're trying to make is that it's legal federally?
It is a federally legal set of 4,000 products.
So you're saying that the city
that the
of
federal-
Brampton is not in the position to ban it?
The city of Brampton has made their decision on the sale and use of it, and I'm happy to talk about enforcement and how that's not possible.
Let me ask the councillor first. How do you enforce the ban?
So, and that's the key piece here that we're not speaking about is the enforcement. So before, I took office, we had certain rules and restrictions that I believe previous councils had worked with the Fireworks Association to set in place. That, if there's fireworks that travel more than 3 meters or 10 feet, those are considered illegal. There's talks around it, but you can imagine how difficult it is to enforce that. If I'm a bylaw officer, I got a complaint that, hey, this house is setting off fireworks. I show up to the property. How am I to determine if it's traveled more than 3 meters or not? How am I to determine those things? And then, the sale of fireworks is still, again, the question that although it was illegal to sell, fireworks that are longer than 3 meters in distance, but then at the same store, you see them selling fireworks that are legal, fireworks that are illegal. There's so many of these questions, and it's so difficult to enforce that with a blanket ban, simply now that any fireworks, you can go and issue a ticket.
Well, he
Any
mentioned that you
fireworks
can
at
get
all.
it on the black market, so...
You can buy them online.
Yes.
And this 3 meter rule that Councillor mentions, for everyone to know, this was the only city in Canada that imposed a rule of fireworks that are 3 meters or less. So the fireworks that are used, it would basically amount to sparklers on birthday cakes that could be used. When they had the 3 meter rule or less, which is now a blanket ban, which basically means when they had the 3 meter rule in place, you're allowed to use sparklers on birthday cakes, which now, because of a blanket ban, are completely illegal. The enforcement capabilities, as the councillor said to the chamber, are woeful. They are in need of improvement. And so how is this enforced?
Well, what's the point of banning it if you can't enforce it, councillor?
Great question.
But now we're able to enforce it because with the ban in place now, the amount of complaints that we get, our officers are able to go and address those complaints. But also with the ban, the news that it's generated, people realize now there is a ban in place. People realize the use of fireworks is illegal. So, it's usually, like we spoke about it earlier, it's usually family celebrations. You go out, you buy fireworks. Now when you know those are illegal, as a family or as the head of the family or the person that's going out to purchase these fireworks, you make that decision to set an example for your kids that, hey, what we're gonna do now is illegal. We hope nobody complains. That kind of behavior starts to get curbed.
Couldn't you do that through education, though?
That's right.
Before banning?
Absolutely, we could. And I think that's what the previous terms have tried to do, but I don't think that's resulted in much. When we talk about education, we talk about the Fireworks Association. Unless you're a member of council or somebody present at, in our council chambers, you don't really hear about the association. You don't hear about the good work that they do. But on the ground, like the average resident, they don't know about these rules and regulations. For them, it's as simple as, let me go to the plaza, I know a vendor, set up a tent, I can go buy fireworks for my kids, I'm gonna buy those, come back home and set them off. Rules, they don't know about them.
I think it's a bit unfair. Listen, the Fireworks Association is proud to attend the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Conference, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference. We work with cities across this country, including Brampton. We work with fire chiefs, we work with bylaw enforcement officers. But I want to address a couple of points that the councillor made. He talked about the previous administration. And I think it's a really interesting point because this councillor actually sat in the office of the former mayor in the previous administration where there wasn't a ban. So I don't know what's changed, but let's go
he mentioned the pandemic.
Let's go through some numbers.
I was a staffer and now I'm a politician.
That's right.
It's very two different things.
Well, you're looking at things differently.
On that point, though, Aleem, I would say that nobody pays me to lobby for this. these are my residents.
It's
These
not
are
a dig at
concerns that I
Aleem
get
because
to
he's
hear.
part of the association.
But what they pay you for is to
If it's a dig at my
represent your
career, I'm
residents.
just talking about
That's
the
what
same
they
thing,
do.
that they're representing an association, Aleem's representing the association and speaking for fireworks. We're talking about why we don't want fireworks in our city. But when we talk about that question, and Aleem brought a good point about, delegations and people that we've heard from, and like I've told you, I've heard from people at the doors. I've heard from seniors. We've had the Seniors Association come and delegate about this and tell us how good this is. They represent over 40 seniors clubs across the city. So that's a loud voice that we can't ignore. I've heard from parents that have children with disabilities, that have children with accessibility needs, that used to plan to leave the city on certain days when they knew there was going to be fireworks, like Canada Day, like New Year's. They would leave and get a hotel somewhere more remote where their child could be safe. They're very happy about this too because they've seen a reduction in the use of fireworks. People that are pet owners that have dogs and cats.
Well,
or
I'm glad you let me.
Makes a big difference to them.
I'm glad you brought that up because fireworks are often criticized for being bad for the environment. We were just talking before we started taping. We just started talking about how heavy the air is.
Quality.
It's terrible.
If I could just add on to that as well.
Yes, let me just finish the question because I also want to get Aleem in.
Thank you.
Given our air quality issues from wildfire smoke, is celebrating fireworks this weekend a good idea?
I'd like to address the issues on the numbers first before we get to the environment. Here's the reality. This is the 9th largest city in our country with 800,000 people. Let me get to some numbers. Okay, in 2022, there were 1,184 complaints around fireworks. Only 10% were given out fines, okay? In 2021, 785 complaints around fireworks. Let's talk numbers. There were 16,000 total complaints in all areas in Brampton, in 2021.
Where are these numbers from, sir?
This is from the city's own bylaw, head of bylaw enforcement. These are public numbers. 22% of all complaints were attributed to loud music and parties. I repeat, 5% were fireworks. Do we go after loud parties and music next? Should we ban maybe Punjabi folk music next?
And we do.
No, you don't ban Punjabi folk music.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No, I said loud music is what you're talking about.
You can't ban loud music.
And that's what we're working towards right now as well. Again, our noise bylaws, as we speak, are being amended for loud noise, whether it's coming from music at parties, whether it's coming from neighborhood. We are, sir. And whether it's coming from loud cars, we're working with the Peel Regional Police on this issue, and we've had that request from the Peel Regional Police to have certain parameters in place we can enforce.
Not banning.
And we are.
No, you're not banning.
Well, I know there's.
I don't believe you watched the council meeting just Wednesday. I was at the meeting.
Did the Peel Police say they want to ban music? Did the Peel Police say they want to ban fireworks?
We have to talk about the environment because I think this is something that's not top of mind for a lot of people.
Yep.
And one of the other criticism is that fireworks impact kids, as you mentioned, wildlife, people who have lived in war zones. I was born in during a civil war, lived in a refugee camp.
Yep.
So sometimes when I hear fireworks, but I also understand that I'm part of a bigger community. So something I like, my neighbor might not like, and that's fine. So let's talk about the environment.
For sure, let's talk about that. An average consumer fireworks show, and we know this, we've worked with Dr. Tom Smith, who's a chemist from Oxford University, to quantify these parameters. There's a lot of hyperbole around the environment. We've actually done the work, and we've done the numbers. Let me share them with you. An average consumer fireworks show is less than $500, and the CO2 footprint is 0.625 kilograms of CO2. The councillor's car ride, which is about an hour getting here from Brampton today, was 19 kilograms of CO2. So if we're going to talk about CO2 emissions, let's look at things holistically. Let's look at a propane gas tank that we're all going to be using during Canada Day, making burgers and enjoying our country, 2.4 kilograms per hour. There are impacts, of course there are, but how many people are we bringing together? 30,000 people will be on Parliament Hill this week celebrating and looking at fireworks. And so I think we need to look at things holistically. I think when government comes forward and says that we will decide, as Brampton has, to ban, but We will have our own events for you. We don't trust the public. There's a lot of cultural appropriation going on here because this is a city with a heavy South Asian population. Of the 800,000, how many people checked into hotel rooms? That's the question for the councillor.
You think it's unfairly targeting
Of course
South
it
Asian
is,
communities?
100%.
Well, councillor?
Somebody from the community, I would say it is not.
800,000 people.
As
How many
somebody
people?
from the community, I would say it is not targeting our communities. But just to go back to the numbers that Aleem was quoting here, this is like saying that, does this make any difference to our environment? In an environment like this, in the air quality like this, when we set off fireworks, like having this discussion with this kind of air quality, we only make it worse. Quoting numbers on how much CO2 emissions from this and from that, that's like me saying that,
These are facts,
let's
Councillor.
stop turning off, we were always educated as kids, turn off your lights when you're not using them because you're making a difference to combat climate change. This is like saying, well, that's a tiny difference and we don't really need to do it if the big industries are continuing to pollute our environment, if the oil and gas is continuing to contribute to the climate crisis. At a personal level, we don't need to do it because it's a very small difference.
Completely unfair
Like,
and not
that's,
true.
That's just like, data like that is just so...
These are facts. There is no data
These
behind.
are facts.
These are facts.
I agree with the facts.
Good.
All right. Well, let's agree to disagree. We only have a few more minutes, and I want to talk about maybe some solutions, some alternatives. The Summer Solstice Festival in Ottawa did a drone light show for Indigenous Peoples Day. We have a tweet showing that here. It says, in celebration of #NIPD 2023, 200 drones lit up the sky. Madawake Farm on #NIPD 2023, sharing an intimate story, Mewaze, with drones. And you can see the lights from the drones in the accompanying picture. Is this something that could be an alternative to fireworks?
I believe so.
Councillor?
Mississauga is doing the same right now for Canada Day celebrations. They have a company, it's a private company, private business that's doing a display with LED drones.
And they will be having a full fireworks show in Mississauga. Mississauga will not be following their cousins.
I can only hear one person at one time. Let the councillor finish, and then I'll come to you.
They won't be banning either.
This is like saying that, we get it, there's more electric cars coming in the market. Let's completely ban cars that are running on gas and completely go electric. You need a transition. Mississauga is a great example of a city where they're having these light displays, private companies choosing to do so. Maybe our council, maybe our city will, reach out to a company like that and say, hey, would you like to host something like this in Brampton? And it'll take a cultural shift. It doesn't happen overnight. As kids grow up, as they get more attracted by these the light shows that are done by the drones, the different imagery that they show, very creative. If we start leaning towards that, I would be very happy to one day say that, hey, even the city won't host any fireworks. We will do, light drones and these kind of displays as we start shifting towards that.
We proudly have drone folks as part of the association, the Fireworks Association. There is time and space for that. I think the councillor needs to remember that Brampton's on a flight path as well, and there are communities around the world that don't use drones because of that. We also have new Canadians coming to our country from places like the Ukraine and Russia, where drones are actively used in warfare, where residents are saying that the sound of the drones is creating an issue for them. We need to look at things holistically. We can't just say we're going to ban. As it relates to Mississauga, you will be seeing very shortly that they are going to take the opposite direction of their cousins in Brampton because they trust the public. They know that regulations speak to how people should work. We're coming out of a pandemic where there were severe restrictions imposed for many people, and the public has no tolerance for being told what they can do and what they can't, particularly on legal products. It's not the way we should govern ourselves as a society and in this beautiful country that we're about to celebrate.
I have a quick follow-up with you.
Please.
You mentioned that the drones might cause some PTSD for people from like Ukraine. Fireworks also have that same criticism.
They do, but this is the balance that we need. We don't go and just ban something to say that some people have an issue. We're proud to work with the SPCAs of the world to say that when there are fireworks shows, keep your pet indoors. We don't tell people to go check into a hotel, right? We don't listen to that. We say, and we follow the advice, and we say to keep your pets. When you hear a vacuum cleaner or a loud Honda Civic, right? We had 41,000 complaints on parking last year in Brampton, compared to 1,500 for fireworks. Do we ban cars?
We only have a few minutes left. Would you consider taking this ban to court?
There are active alternatives. This is the first time the councillors looked at me, by the way, in the interview when you asked the question.
No, he's looked at you a few times.
We could replay. Aline could go back and watch the interview again. I've been looking at you.
You know what? 30 of us looked at the council when we deputed on the 20th of November. I'll repeat, not one question was asked to any deputant in support of fireworks. Can lawsuits be used? Sure they can. That's getting heavy-handed. I think there are solutions here. I think through our Be a Good Neighbor program, through instructions on fireworks that give QR codes that tell people how to use the product responsibly, that's the solution. You know, banning things from the public, inherently, elected officials are telling the public, we do not trust you. And I'd be willing to have this conversation with you after Diwali to show that the ban simply does not work. And they're going to find that out very soon.
Councillor, I'll let you have the last word.
That sounds more like a challenge that, hey, we're going to come to your city and we're going to do a lot of fireworks and we're going to show you.
I said your band's
It does sound like that, but
no,
I would also say that we keep hearing from Aline, we're coming off a pandemic, That was based on respiratory illnesses. When our environment is getting to this position, I am not okay with setting off fireworks in my city, reducing the air quality. I'm not okay with gas-emitting cars, and that's where we're moving to electric vehicles. We're the largest electric fleet when it comes to transit, when it comes to buses. We're electrifying as many facilities as we can. We're moving towards tackling climate change, adapting to this new reality, and part of that is this small piece that we're debating about today.
I'll give you 20 seconds, Aline.
I'd love to say that there's an impact or a correlation between this. There isn't, quite frankly, there isn't. And here's the reality. We are doing our part to protect the environment. We are lowering CO2 emissions as an industry. We are proudly doing that.
So the
question is, electric fireworks, is that even real? I mean, we're talking about things that are not real.
We're going to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for an explosive conversation. We appreciate it. I feel like we just scratched the surface on this, and hopefully we can revisit this conversation and have a longer discussion. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And have a great holiday weekend.
I'm wishing everybody happy Canada Day.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.